Hello and welcome to this final paper 1 video, again using our exemplar from Bo, one of my viewers who's kindly submitted his grade 9 answers. As usual, I'll be going through the just tell me what to do section. You will see the picture that it's based on. Unfortunately, AQA won't let me reproduce the question. We will then read the story. We'll get to the end. This is what his teacher gave him, 37 out of 40. And Bo actually took a really high-risk gamble here in the way he approached the question. And that's going to be really interesting for you, because I'm going to finish the video with a free extract from my guide. You probably haven't bought it, so I'm bringing this bit to you for free. And it's about all these descriptive techniques. I'll just leave on the screen, loads of descriptive techniques, what they look like. But most important of all, there's this here. This is the secret, especially contrast and juxtaposition, which I don't think most teachers teach their students as the #1 way of getting the top grades. But I'm going to use Bo's answer to prove that to you, and I hope you'll find that super useful. Right, let's start the story. The river Kilda, dawn. Hurriedly, Mizuko throws out her arms. Okay, let's just think about how Bo has got into the examiner's head. Boom, straight off, 2 curtailed sentences with no verbs, obviously done for effect. We're expecting a familiar word, the River Clyde, but immediately he's changed the spelling to make a new kind of name that we're not familiar with. We're unsettled straight away. He starts his first sentence with an adverb because he knows that most students won't do that. They will start in a boring way with the or then or I or he. He started with Alice and then thought, no, actually, I've got a foreign sounding river. I'm going to introduce a foreign character which might boost my creativity, Mizuko. Then I'm going to write everything in the present tense, throws out her arms. That's very difficult to do. When students do this, they often end up changing to the past tense and then back to the present. But if you know you can write in the present tense, do it. It's very powerful because it makes the action happen right now, right in front of our eyes. So she threw out her arms, desperate to reach the water's top. Already having been submerged for 5 minutes, she knows she has little time left. Her limbs, once lithe and slender, are now being groped by 1,000 determined wrinkles. The liquid ice seeping quickly now past her nails and down into her knuckles, her palms. Well, again, let's look at what he's doing here. I call this showing off, and I tell my students to try to write 1 sentence that's at least 30 words long, because it forces you to build idea on idea on idea without finishing the sentence until the end. Now, if you're a student who often gets commas wrong, don't do this. You're not ready for it if you often get commas wrong. But if you've got control of commas, this technique is for you. But you can see now, I hope, how Bo is using that technique of contrast or juxtaposition. So we've got her limbs, which were once lithe and slender. Now they're the opposite of that. They're attacked by wrinkles. She's groping. You can see the change that the contrast brings us. And because there's a contrast, it makes the later change look more serious, more dangerous. And that's the skill of using contrast. And then there's also that other skill that I included of repetition, where you kind of build up a rhythm. Her nails into her knuckles, her palms. You can see how that rhythm is driving us on towards a potential design. Darkness, she gasps. Poor choice. Her throat is engulfed by a torrent of algae and pain. Not so much a Molotov cocktail as a Glaswegian shot. Rapid, strong, instantly regrettable. So how is he showing off? Well, you might have noticed these 2 curtailed sentences at the beginning of the paragraph, which is how he started that first paragraph. And this is an easy way to mimic the structure of your paragraphs to show the examiner how fully you are in control of structure. But you're not just doing this for the examiner, you're doing it to make it interesting to read. And having that thread of repetition going through knits your writing together. It makes it feel whole. It makes it more enjoyable for your reader. Bo is now taking another high-risk option, introducing humour here. For those of you who don't know, a Molotov cocktail is petrol in a bottle. You light a rag in its bottle top, throw it, and the petrol then explodes on contact. But here that's not quite the image that he wants. Instead, he's imagining Glaswegian as a typical stereotypically, I should say, not truthfully, but stereotypically hard drinking Scots person drinking really quickly, lots of alcohol so it's strong, and then that being regrettable, which fits more with this girl who's drinking in the water from the river that she's dived into. Now, that humour has to fit, so that won't work if we instantly think, oh, he's joking now, she's obviously going to survive. We still need that tension, and the reason it works is because we get this image of drunkenness, which would suggest this person is not in full control. Now remember, Mizuko isn't drunk, this is just a metaphor. But here's another thing. Many students want to write in the first person. I says this, I does that. Now that's a tremendous weakness because they also want to put the character, I, in danger. Well, because we know that I is writing the story, we know that they triumph and overcome that danger. But the advantage of writing in the third person about somebody else is that we don't know. The reader has no idea whether the ending is going to turn out positively or negatively. And that's important to get your readers investing in finding out how it ends. Right, let's get to the next paragraph. Mizuko contorts her body and vision. Vision reappears before her, her hair now lying on the right side of her body. Her body, now so sodden, yet unwringable, much like the soaked mobile phone jutting into her ribs from a poorly placed breast pocket. A sigh escapes from her lungs, her cell reception. So this is an interesting paragraph here because it does something that I ask my students to do. It makes the reader infer. And so we can tell from the description of her body, if her hair is now lying on her right-hand side, she's no longer floating in water. And therefore we're inferring that she's got out. Okay, but now Bo is going to play with our expectations. So it's not only communication she's lost. So then there's the introduction of danger again. The body of Mizuko contorts and she knows she's losing this battle now. A drunken swim turns to frenzied paddling. Okay, so now we know she is actually drunk. And we know that her hair is on her side because her head is above water, but we've now worked out that actually she's still in the water. And look at this detail, frenzied paddling. She's not a good swimmer and she's drunk. She's probably going to be in serious difficulties again. And this is what I mean by show, don't tell. You give enough details for the reader to work out what's going wrong, but you don't tell them. You give them enough clues to work it out for themselves. It's important. It's not a puzzle that they really have to think about. You know, your average reader needs to be able to work this out. It's not a secret that's in the writer's head. You're just making the reader earn their money. Frenzied paddling turns to treading water. Treading water turns to staying afloat. See how he's using that idea of repetition again. Staying afloat turns to exactly the opposite. Contrast again. Yeah, floating and not floating. She has reached the rapids now, and her head, previously so useless and weighty, becomes bodily torture, too omnipotent to imagine. So here you can see when students are becoming really good writers, they often use words where they're overdoing the thesaurus. And he means here powerful, too powerful to imagine. That would actually have been better than omnipotent, because omnipotent means can't be defeated as well. and that would mean that your character simply won't be able to survive. The torture will kill her. A constant and dehumanizing pounding ricochets around her skull. Really clever to use that word because it has that resonance of death. She sees a shopping trolley. Again, he's introducing humour, but at the right point here, at the river's bed, because we don't see the joke as a sign that she'll survive. We see it as a further danger at the bottom of the river, and we also know she's gone down deep and might not be able to come back up again. And she reaches out, and with the most focus of hands, yet her fingers do not move. A body, previously Mizuko, upturns and brushes the river's bed. Disturbing some sediment, her hair floats out into a web, tugging on some unknown object. Mechanically, her body slowly rises to the surface of the... So now we've decided that she's probably dead, and it looked like the use of omnipotent was right because she's going to die, and therefore it was a good choice. But we're nowhere near the end of the story. Rises to the surface of the water, her head only partly exposed as her trousers, soiled and heavy with water, flow with the placid water's gentle caresses. What a fantastic last line there. Flow with the placid water's gentle caresses suggests the gentleness of death and that she's at peace now. It might well remind you of that final line of Ozymandias, the lone and level sand stretch far away. The idea that the desert is at peace after all this time of the tyrant Ozymandias has passed. And hopefully you can see the sibilance of the S's work here, as does the assonance of elongating the vowel sound of flow. Anyway, I don't want to go on about that because this is only halfway. So this would have been a top answer. I think just down to this far would easily have got Beau a grade 7. But here comes Beau's risk. But he pulls it off because of contrast. So our next paragraph starts cork, morning, early morning. Remember that structure where he starts paragraphs with curtailed sentences. Now we've got a contrast from Mizuko being somewhere in a foreign place we've never heard of, the Kilda River. Suddenly we're in Cork, which is Ireland, and this is a strange place to associate with the Japanese name. Suddenly Mizuko awakens, her body pricked all over with goosebumps. Well, this is odd because we thought she'd just died, and we're gripped. How on earth has she got here? Looking around, she can see a little in the room, not yet even half lit, but she knows exactly where to find her duvet. She often has night terrors, and today's was one of the more forgiving. So we've got this contrast of the terror, and now she's waking up somewhere warm with the duvet, but we feel a little cheated. This is the old cliche of, it was all a dream. But Beau's going to pull this off because of his emphasis on contrast. Aching, she stands up, sighs and bends down to reach her pillow, dropped like a luxury. A fading sense of place, of person. She takes a seat on the edge of her bed. Head rush. Again, we've got these echoes of what was happening in the river. The head rush is a reminder of the drinking of the night before. The dropped like a luxury is an echo of how she dropped within the river like death. All these contrasts are playing. The pain that she was suffering with her head in the earlier description is now contrasted with this gentleness of her pillow. And you can see how Beau is playing with the ideas he used earlier in the contrast of his description of what she's like now. Whoops, jumped one. Regaining her senses, she becomes aware of a smell slowly creeping its way into the room. Bread toasted for just too long. It has that blue electric smell. No, it's coffee. The percolator must have been left on again. Mizuko thinks for a second and then rolls back into her bed. she can't wait to enjoy caffeinated, I don't know what that is, tomorrow. And so again, what we've got here is Bo thinking, oh right, I've got to write with some descriptive techniques, which means, oh, I need to put the senses in. That's not true. You don't have to put the senses in, okay? But, well, the reason for that is because it is often really mechanical. But he saves himself here because, yeah, he's got the smell of toast, big deal, but he's actually thought through how he's going to describe it. It has that blue electric smell. I wouldn't be surprised if he already had that at the back of his mind before he went into the exam. That's a really vivid description. We picture the electricity going through the toaster, but there's also that element of an element of burning that you associate with electricity, which does brilliantly describe that smell that you get from toast, which has been left in the toaster for just that little bit too long. So it's really powerful. Besides, it's too early to wake up and smell the coffee. So there's the humour again, and it works here. Smell the coffee means obviously face reality as well as face the actual coffee. And we understand that that's being used playfully here, and it invites us to speculate, well, what is the reality? What does smelling the coffee mean here, beyond just smelling literal coffee? As she turned to reach her pillow, her eyes heavy and scalding, so we remember she was drunk, Mizuko becomes aware of a strange sensation. Cold water trickling calmly down her left leg. She grunts and pulls the long-forgotten hot water bottle to her cheek. It'll be nice to have some comfort in her next dream. Sleep again. And this is, as I described earlier, a bit of a cop-out ending, you know, that it was all a dream business. But Bo's pulled it off really well because of that use of contrast all the way through. His teacher has obviously looked at this and thought, oh man, you've written something that's kind of not perfect because you've avoided a proper ending. You've had this cheat ending, which you always tell your students not to use, and marked him down a little bit. And so it does need a more crafted ending. You know, perhaps she wakes up in bed next to a stranger, and the anxiety of her dream is that she's having sex irresponsibly, not with people that she knows, but opportunistically. Or perhaps it could be a memory of someone who's no longer there. She's lost her mother, for example. And that would have come back to that idea of smelling the coffee. Of those two, the smelling the coffee idea suggests that it's her own fault, and therefore the death of her mother wouldn't fit quite as well as waking up next to a stranger in bed with her. But it wouldn't need to be a sexual crisis. It could be work. She might have signed off sick and the phone could be going. It's her bosses trying to get hold of her, but she's going to lose her job because she's going to ignore it. Doesn't matter. You just need something that's going to knit it together, so that we've got a psychological reason for her to have had these night terrors. At the minute, we've just got the terrors, but we don't really know why she's got them. Then we'll notice the mark for accuracy here, 14 out of 16. I think his teacher circled one mistake. Well, that's possibly a bit harsh. I think, has she reduced it from 15 down to 14 here? But overall, 37 out of 40 I think is a pretty fair mark. It wouldn't get 40 out of 40, but it could certainly get 37, 38 or 39, you know. Even with this slightly disappointing ending, because he's used contrast so skillfully. Right, let me go through my 13 things that you need to do, whether you're writing a story or describing, and see how well Bo has done those. So in the video I released yesterday, I showed you how to develop your creativity using something from the news. The crucial thing about picking something from the news before you go into the exam is you will already have thought of some endings. And the ending is the most important part, as I hoped I just showed you. And had Bo gone in with some endings in mind, to a story that he hadn't yet written, but just thinking about endings would have given him time to craft a better end in this story. He has started with a crisis. Many students start with a bit of description, a bit of an introduction. We don't need any of that. Go boom, straight in with the drama, just like Bo did with Mizuko struggling in the water. Decide whose point of view you will write it from. So he was writing from Mizuko's point of view, but in the third person, so we didn't know if she was going to come out of this well. And that allows you to explore conflicting views. If you just write it in the first person, it's really difficult to see different perspectives. Plan the best ending you can think of based on your character's point of view. So when we go back to that ending, the night terrors had to have a purpose within the context of that character, and that's their point of view. Why are they having these night terrors? Start writing. By that I mean don't spend ages planning. As I tried to show you before, just write down 3 ideas, say yes to everything, don't edit those ideas, and then once you've written those ideas down, your brain will automatically pick the one it thinks works best. I don't know if Bo planned this story. My instincts are that he didn't, because he didn't have the ending right. But maybe Bo, give us a comment in the comments below, and let our students work out whether you planned it or not. Remember to try to make each sentence start in a different way. So this is my number 1 technique for getting students from grade 4 to grade 7. Just start each sentence in a different way. The, dawn, hurriedly. Already, and then the massive show-off sentence. Darkness, she, poor. Mizuko, her, a. And you can see that instinctively Bo is writing different sentence beginnings all the time. Now the reason that one simple technique is so powerful is it just forces you to be creative. It forces you to think differently, and so you write stuff that's better. But more than that, it keeps your reader constantly guessing. If your reader can predict the kinds of sentences that are coming up, they lose interest in the story or the description you're telling. And it's such a superb way, genuinely, to get from grade 4 to grade 7. Just focus on that. Show off with the best vocabulary you can think of, but remember, I have that health warning. You're not chucking it in just because it sounds good. It has to fit. Remember the use of omnipotent before, which actually did end up fitting because she died in her dream, didn't she? Use adverbs, long clauses, verbs ending in ing if you want to zoom in or slow down time. So if we go to the show-off sentence, there's a sentence starting with an adverb of time, already, and then here are the ing words. Already having been submerged, her limbs once lithe and slender are now being groped, the liquid ice seeping. Now the effect of that is to keep the drama continually happening in the present, or if it's in the past, as long as you've got the ing, it's not a finished action, either in the present or the past. And of course, the long, complex sentence, the show-off sentence, will always have lots of clauses in it with lots going on. Now, it's worth me pointing out here that this is a section from my guide, not that I'm trying to tell you to go away and buy it. What I mean is, I wrote this long before I ever read Bo's writing. In other words, you can actually predict the techniques that good writers use. They're not mysterious. That doesn't mean they're simple to use, but once you start thinking this way, you will be a much better writer. But obviously, if I just tell you this stuff, it doesn't mean anything. You need to see it in someone's writing for it to make something make sense to you. Sorry, I've talked too much there. Right, let's get to number 9. Speed up time with short sentences or lots of verbs. And so you saw that repeated with these curtailed sentences with which Bo started most of his paragraphs. Hopefully you'll remember the bits in the video where I talked about showing the reader and not telling them, making them work things out, but with enough clues so that they can work it out. It shouldn't be a mystery they get to at the end and still be scratching their heads. Show off your descriptive techniques. That's easy to do because you're starting all your sentences in a different way. The danger of it is you just plough on with things like the senses, and I showed you how Bo resisted the trap of just doing smells because he had to. Play with punctuation. This one's a bit annoying. So Bo's teacher really wasn't sure what to give him for his punctuation mark. I mean, it's not just punctuation in this part of the mark scheme, but not really sure, and it's gone from 15 to 14 or maybe 13 to 14, I can't tell. And the reason for that is quite sad really, but this Bo hasn't put in lots of different punctuation and has made one apostrophe mistake, I think. And what's a bit annoying about this is real writers don't think, oh yeah, I've got to chuck in some really cool punctuation for my readers here. Obviously they don't. They try to write in an interesting way, and the punctuation is just there to make the meaning clear. But sadly this is an exam, and so you do want to chuck in a colon or a semicolon just to show, sadly, that you are using the punctuation and not leave the examiner in that place of doubt. Oh, has this student shown a suitable range of punctuation? You know, if this was a book they were reading, they'd be delighted with it and give it 16 out of 16. But because there's an exam mark scheme, that introduces doubt. So just chuck in some brackets, colon, semicolon, and you'll be sorted. And then use all of the show-off skills that I've got here, but only to fit your character and story. And hopefully you picked up as I was going through Bo's story how the humour, for example, had to fit the mood of what he was writing and had to fit the character of Mizuko and what might happen to her. Well done for sticking this far, where you're coming to the bonus feature, the free bit from my English language guide. And so in yellow, hopefully you've got a really good sense now of how Bo has used this idea. There are loads of descriptive techniques. We could go on and on about them. But the main ones are these first four: simile, metaphor, personification and alliteration. If you're using those, that's enough. Yeah, you're going to get enough quality in your writing. But there are all sorts of other ones you can use: sibilance, onomatopoeia. If you have to, it's not a particularly good one. And then register and allusion and reference. So we didn't really talk about how Bo uses allusion. The easiest way to show you was that expression, wake up and smell the coffee, which he used as humour and didn't fully exploit it enough for the ending, because the right allusion was Mizuko's got to face reality, and we didn't see what that reality was. There were also all kinds of allusions in other uses of humour. So I didn't pick this one out, for example. Cork. How did Bo decide on this particular place in Ireland? Well, maybe even subconsciously he chose it because it's related to the fact that she's drunk. And obviously you get cork in a bottle. And then we've got the idea that she's going to be hungover. So allusions are references to general knowledge or other texts that you expect a good reader to know. And then there's another allusion here. I don't know if it's deliberate, but it certainly works for me. We've got the night before and the night terrors linked to the description of Goosebumps. Goosebumps is a series of horror books for young children, you know, in year 7 or year 6. That may again not have been deliberate, but would have been the way that this writer's brain is making those links. I'd love it to be deliberate, but again, Bo, you might let us know in the comments below. Okay, well, the rest of this is going to be a series of screens which I'll just let you browse at your leisure. So, how to write interesting similes? Well, there's 3 examples. Interesting metaphors, 3 more examples. A dad joke. Personification, 3 more examples. Alliteration, how to use it in an interesting way, 3 more examples. Sibilance and onomatopoeia, 3 examples. Imagery and symbolism. This is probably a separate video. That's really cool if you pause it on this one. what I mean by contrast, 3 more ways of using it. I wonder when you get through if you can anticipate what the last word is going to be. It was quite predictable. Juxtaposition, repetition, register. I haven't really talked about that, so that's another grade 8 technique for you to have a look at if you wish. Another dad joke, and then 3 examples of allusion. Let's get rid of the gap there so that you can see what allusion looks like. Lots of students ask me about synesthesia. Well, there you go. And that is your lot. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like more. You're a bit of a hero if you've made it this far. Just noticed my spelling mistake there. I've cunningly released this video just before the exam because loads of you all watched it to the end because the exam's coming up. And if you have, good luck. You're going to do brilliantly. And see you on the other side of the exams. Let me know how you do.